Om. 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 Sahana bhavatu, Sahanau bhunaktu, Saha viryam karavavai, Tejasvinavadhitamastu, Ma vidvishavahai. Om. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Sairam, everyone. Um, as you all know, we are discussing uh, se- set of sutras which are classified as an exposition on bhakti or prema. Um, and I think we had covered last week a couple of sutras which talked about what a person who has bhakti would be. They will be always talking about the Lord, listening to the Lord, seeing the Lord, and so on. We also saw that when this bhakti has certain gunas, it's of a three kind. Also, we looked at, and and we are continuing that study. So I will go to the next sutra, which is the 57th sutra. Um, उत्तरस्मादुत्तरस्मात् पूर्वपूर्वा श्रेयाय भवति. उत्तरस्मादुत्तरस्मात् पूर्वपूर्वा श्रेयाय भवति. उत्तरस्मादुत्तरस्मात् पूर्वपूर्वा श्रेयाय भवति. If you look at the consonants and the letters which are here, and in terms of pronunciation, the first word, which is a compound word, there are no difficult compound consonants or aspirated consonants. So it should be rather easy. Purva Purva, Shreyaya. None of these have any aspirated consonants. The last word Bhavati, the first letter Bha is aspirated. So because it's a fourth letter in the Pa class of consonants, it has to be aspirated as Bhavati. Bhavati. Okay. Otherwise, this sutra should be easy to read. And we'll look at the sandhi, or the split of the sandhis. The first one is uttarasmat, uttarasmat. The ith becomes id because of sandhi. The third, which is the first letter in the third class of consonants, becomes the third one, a softer one. The instead of the, it is the. And so this it becomes id, and id with u becomes du. So that's how you get uttarasmadu. Okay, uttarasmad, uttarasmat. Other than that, there are no sandhis. All of them are individual words. Purva Purva, Shreyaya Bhavati. Purva Purva is again a samasa. It's called a Dvandva samasa of sama is a compound word. Okay. We'll look at the meaning. Uttarasmat. So Uttarasman, Uttarasmat. Okay. Kind of meaning. Uttarasmat is the ending. Mat is the fifth vibhakti or the fifth noun form of the word Uttarasmat. Uttara means something which is earlier, before. Uttara has multiple meanings, but in this case, Uttara, because the next word which follows is Purva. Purva is before, Uttara is afterwards. So it can be the rear, or it can be behind, that kind of meaning. Uttara also can mean moon, the north, and so on. There are multiple meanings of, like we are in the time of Uttarayana. Uttarayana is the sun's northward movement. Uttara is north also. But in this case, the reference is to, because the following word has Purva. Purva is earlier, Uttara is later. Purva is the front, Uttara is the back. So Uttarasmat means from the later, Uttarasmat. So it is in terms of usage, actually, because it's an idiomatic usage in Sanskrit. Uttarasmat means from the latter ones, that's a type of meaning, because the fifth vibhakti is from. A point of separation is the way it's called. But in this case, what it means is Uttarasmat means that which has come later, compared to all these. Okay. So, for example, if you go to the previous sutra, it talks about Gauni Artha. So Artha, Artharthi, Jijnasu are the three types of bhaktis we saw. So what it means is these are the evolutions of bhakti over a period of time, one after the other, okay, one behind the other, you can say. So we just because the sutra spoke about it earlier, Uttarasmat means from the Artha Bhakti, from the Arthartha Bhakti, from the Jijnasa Bhakti. Okay, Purva means the one before. Okay, also these are coming one after the other. The one which precedes all of them. It is Purva. Purva means first, earlier. Okay. Purva means the earliest of all the early ones. Okay. So if you say Artha, Arthi, Artharthi, Jitnyasu, then you go and search for the one which is before any of them, before all the earlier ones. So Purva means Bhakti in its original form. So Bhakti, which is the essence. So that's why I've given the meaning earliest among the early ones. Okay. I also put the meaning the progenitor of the source. That means what is the first? That means that is the starting point. Okay. Purva. What is Purva? Because the Purva, these are two words. Purva means before. Purva is the feminine form of Purva. Because this is an adjective of the word Bhakti. Bhakti is a feminine word. So Purva means Bhakti, which is Purva. Okay. Shreyaya bhavati. Okay, so let's look at Shreyaya. Shreyas, there's a nice discourse of Swami on Shreyas, so we are going to read. Shreyas means something which is higher. So in the context of spiritual world, it's called spiritual excellence. The excellence in spirituality is Shreya, or Shreyas. And Shreyaya means for the sake. Shreyaya is the fourth vibhakti or the fourth noun form. That means for the sake of spiritual excellence, you can say. Okay. Bhavati means exists. I think why this sutra comes here is Arti, we said, when there are troubles, they look for the Lord. Artharthi, who wants wealth and this, they want the Lord for that. Then Jijnasu is one who wants knowledge. That person also is devotee. They all are looking for different things of the world. But what this says is the original form of bhakti is only for spiritual excellence, not necessarily for the world. Okay. Uttarasmat, that means Sarthi, Arthati, all of them. Compared to all of them, Bhakti itself, the origin, the source of bhakti is only for Shreyas. For Shreyas only it exists. So this is to explain to everyone that the purpose of bhakti is Shreyas. Devotion itself for Shreyas is the what the sutra says. So that we should not confuse devotion, praying to the Lord for this or that is the real purpose of bhakti. The bhakti is only for spiritual excellence. So we will read an excerpt of Swami's discourse, very nice discourse of Swami. Let's start. Embodiments of divine love. For every man, the body, the tongue, and the heart are the elements which constitute humanness. This is the purpose of the Sanskrit, this is the purport of the Sanskrit sloka. I think Swami must have recited a verse, so he's just explaining that the purport of the sloka which Swami recited is that these three constitute humanness. We'll continue. A sacred and pure heart, speech wedded to truth, and a body dedicated to the service of others. With these three attributes, a man can have no trouble from Kali, the present yuga. Purity of the heart, truthfulness in speech, and service devoted body constitute what is called Trikarana Shuddhi, the triple purity of body, speech, and heart. Sai seeks from you good qualities, friendliness towards mankind, the spirit of sacrifice, eschewing selfishness and rendering service to society. This is the offering Sai desires from you. And this is verily the wealth you should offer to Sai. This is the wealth Sai expects. Good qualities, friendship towards all, selfless service to society are what Sai seeks from you. Students, teachers, and educationists in this world of moving and non-moving objects, man is carrying on his life with two desires. One is prayers, material prosperity. Although there are all kinds of objects in the world, man seeks first of all things which will please his senses. Deriving pleasure from time to time through sense organs is described as prayers. This prayers is not enduring. It is like a mirage. Sensuous pleasures are momentary and leave a trail of pain behind. However, most people seek only such fleeting and unreal pleasures. From the learned to the illiterate, all seek only these sensuous pleasures. Indulgence in sensual pleasures leads to bad practices and bad conduct. Constant entertaining bad thoughts, playing a game of blind man's buff, strutting about with a perishable body. As soon as one's accumulations from past lives are exhausted, giving up this make-believe existence, the poor player meets with his death, carrying with him the consequences of his good and bad deeds, says a Telugu poem. Is this the life one should lead? Can this be the purpose of life? This verily is not the life a true man should lead. One should manifest his full personality. How is this personality to be developed? The first requisite is the elimination of the ego. Only when the ego is destroyed does a man's personality blossoms forth. Man today seeks primarily sensual desires. Secondarily, he desires Shreyas. Shreyas means overcoming the demands of the senses and achieving that spiritual bliss which is represented by the term Sat Chit Ananda, being, awareness, bliss. All actions aimed at Atmic spiritual bliss are related to Shreyas. The one who seeks prayers, sensual pleasures, is concerned with the body, while the one concerned with the Atma seeks Shreyas, spiritual well-being. Today, 99% of the population are involved in sensual desires and not in spiritual bliss. Education today is mainly concerned with sensory pursuits. All occupations are related to the achievement of sensual desires. All enjoyments are related to the senses. Even the acquisition of wealth is not for enjoying trivial sensual pleasures. The involvement with prayers, thus, is connected with the pleasures of the body, the mind, and the senses. There's doubtless need for some concern about physical comforts. Even the body is essential for the realization of dharma, says scripture. The demand of the body have to be satisfied. Society has to be served. Family responsibilities have to be discharged. The body is the basis for all these. But this should not be the ultimate goal of life. The former relates to the external phenomenal world and is concerned with worldly desires. Together with this, there should be the yearning for a higher Shreyas, spiritual life. The pursuit of prayers, worldly desires, is negative. The quest for Shreyas is positive. Without association with the positive, prayers is of no use, however much there may be worldly good. It is only when one yearns for Shreyas, spiritual bliss, that even prayers leads to fulfillment. Worldly knowledge is not to be ignored or neglected. It is undoubtedly necessary. Secular knowledge is for the enjoyment of this world. Brahma Vidya is for the enjoyment of the otherworldly bliss. While acquiring secular knowledge, be keen about realizing spiritual truth. Good qualities are the key to experiencing spiritual bliss. Love towards all one's fellow beings and service to society are essential. These three contribute to the sublimation of human existence. There is a conflict between sensual desires and spiritual yearning in human beings. The senses are so powerful that they are able to delude by the attractions even profound scholars. In spiritual parlance, this power is described as Viruddha Shakti, negative force. In science, this is called magnetic force. The magnetic power, or the power of attraction, is present in all objects in the world. All the thoughts in a man's mind have this magnetic power. From magnetic energy is derived electrical energy. Electrical energy is the source for the power of light and for the atmic power. Atomic energy is present in thoughts and in speech. Thus, magnetic energy is the basis for all forms of energy. It is the energy that accounts for speech, for singing, and all other activities. The power of this energy was recognized from ancient times. India is the nation that recognized the divine source of this energy, experienced its power, and propagated the truth about it to the whole world. You must feel elated that you have taken birth in such a glorious land. You must feel proud that you are a son of Bharat. For this land of Bharat, the great Himalayas are the frontiers. The Himalayas convey the message of peace and security for every man. The Himalayas proclaim the message of purity and irremovable firmness. The land of Bharat is watered by the life-giving rivers Ganga, Yamuna, and Saraswati. These three are the arteries of the nation. And then you have the Bhagavad Gita, the Upanishads, and Brahma Sutras. These three sacred texts teach the philosophy of work, worship, and wisdom. The Ramayana and Mahabharata teach how to sublimate human life. In the Ramayana, Rama is an ideal hero. The Ramayana teaches that every individual should lead an ideal life. It is said about the Mahabharata that what is not in it cannot be found elsewhere. Bharat is made up of two words, Bha and Rati. Bha means effulgence, illumination, enlightenment. Rati means taking pleasure. Bharatiyas are a people who delight in illumination and enlightenment. The concept of Bharat is thus full of significance. Bharatiyas, who are the inheritors of a great heritage, are today leading meaningless lives, lacking peace of mind, as they have become slaves of the senses. Every student should understand what is his duty even now, because life is fleeting and one's days are numbered. Students, do not get involved in metaphysical riddles as to whether the world is real or only Brahman is real. Try to realize the truth about yourself. Ask yourself the question, am I real or not? The answer comes, I am real. How long are you real? As long as life lasts. What is reality or truth? The answer is that which remains unchanged through the three categories of time, past, present, and future, is truth. The world is constantly changing. If that is the case, how can you say that the world is not unreal? You are part of the world. The world contains you. There are two words, I and mine. I is associated with the concept of ekatvam, oneness. Mine is a social concept. I represents the individual. Who is the individual? It is not connected with the body. Mine is a concept, collective concept. You describe many things as mine. But I stands alone. Being associated with the one, it stands for the Atma. Ekatma, the Atma is one. Mine is associated with the things of the world. Whereas the I, Nenu in Telugu and Aham in Sanskrit, exist. Where from did this Aham originate? Vedic scholars and spiritually realized persons declare that the source of Aham is Hridaya. What is the meaning of Hridaya? To the worldly sense, it refers to the physical heart in the body. But this is not what the term Hridaya signifies. Hridaya and I are one and the same. The Shrutis gave the name Hridaya to I. Where is this Hridaya? It is assumed that it is in the body. Where is the I presumed to exist in the body? I is not part of the body. You say this is my body, my is separated from the body. My, therefore, is not part of the body. It follows that I is not part of the body. If you understand the nature of I, you will understand the whole world. I is in all beings. Everyone uses the I to identify himself or herself. The I is the omnipresent indwelling entity. When the Hridaya is identified with the I, it is equally all-pervading. Man today has a narrow conception of the I and Hridaya because he misconceives the relationship between the Upadhi, container, and what is contained, the indwelling Atma. How is this misconception to be removed? At the outset, there should be an inquiry into the nature of Hridaya. All the students are here in this hall. If Hridaya referred to the physical heart, your Hridaya should be here. But when you think about your parents, in one moment your thoughts turn to Hyderabad. Another moment you think about Madras. What is it that goes to Hyderabad or Madras? What is that experiences these feelings? You may think it is the mind. The mind is jada, inert. When you understand the mind properly, you will realize it is not the mind that is involved. It is the Hridaya that is at work. And the mind merely follows it like a shadow. There can be a shadow only when there is a real object. The mind is only the shadow of I. Wherever the I goes, the mind follows. When the I is still, the mind will not move. Understanding this truth is real education for students. This is what is involved in Satya Anveshana, quest for truth. The quest for truth should embrace all things. For instance, when you see a flower, you should try to know its name, how it came into existence, etc. You hear some good news which delights you. You also hear some sad news, as well as some harsh, abusive words. You hear words of praise and blame. All the words were heard by the ears, but when happy news was heard by the heart, felt elated. When sad news was heard, the heart shrunk in sorrow. The heart got enraged when the ears heard harsh words about you. You were filled with joy when you heard words of praise. What is responsible for these varied responses, though all the words were heard by the same ears? The ears were inconscient by themselves and incapable of any reactions. The responses of joy or sorrow are related to the contents of the message conveyed by the ears. Thus, the senses are by themselves jada, inconscient. How can the operations of these senses be deemed as satya, truth, or reality? How can the experience resulting from these negative senses be considered as truth? When the senses are unrealizable, the reactions produced by them are equally unreliable. It is inquiring along these lines that man can overcome sorrow. The basic cause for the occurrence of feelings like hatred, jealousy, and anger is the body constituted by the five elements. As long as the body remains, it will be subject to these types of feelings. For instance, all experiences derived through the senses and the mind occur during waking state. How long do they last? When you go to sleep, none of these experience is present. Even the mind is absent, as it were. There is no consciousness even of breathing. In the dream state, you are not aware of the life process, but there is a kind of perception in that state. Is that perception by the physical eyes? You are lying in bed with closed eyes. Which are the eyes that perceive in that state? What is the body that moves about in that state? What is it that receives impressions from outside or experiences grief? It's clear that the experiences in that state are different from the experiences in the waking state. The experiences in the dream state are real as long as the dream lasts. The experiences in the waking state are real in that state. There are no dreams in the waking state, and there are no perceptions of the waking state in the dream state. But you are present in both the states. In both the states, the I is one. The experiences in both the waking and the dream state are of the same I. Only the states are different. Hence, the reality or truth is that which remains in all the states. The I was present in the dream state, it is now present in the waking state. This continuity in the past and the present characterizes the Atma. It is wrong to identify the I with the body. Over the ages, by identifying the I with the body, its true nature has been grossly underrated because of ignorance, perversion, and false attachments. The truth is, the I is subtle and incomparable. It is beyond change. This is the characteristic of divinity. Men have to recognize their inherent divinity. In the conflict between Preyo Marga, materialistic path, and the Shreyo Marga, the spiritual path, people are deluded into following the former. They are ready to sacrifice their lives for sensory pleasures. Should they not dedicate their lives for higher truth? The power of Shreya, spirituality, can confer boundless bliss. Hence, you should pursue Shreyas rather than prayers. Those who are after sensuous pleasures do not readily listen to the words of those who advise them to give up their evil ways. On the contrary, they try to drag others down to their level. The one who pursues the spiritual path not only benefits himself, but promotes the well-being of others. He is like the incense stick which consumes itself in the process of spreading its fragrance while burning. Hence, our students should be exemplars of the Shreya Marga. Learning for Shreyas or a spiritual upliftment is a true education. Students should avoid imitating the silly practices of persons who sport a long hair or go about in bell bottoms and drainage pipes. Students should use their discriminating power in deciding how they should act. They should try to spiritualize their willpower. They should realize the infinite powers latent in man. It is these powers which have enabled men to invent the most wonderful kinds of machinery. Men are therefore more valuable than the most precious things in the world. It is man who imparts value to things by the changes he makes in them, as in the case of diamonds or a work of art. In the spiritual field, a man is enjoined at the very outset to know himself. He should not be a slave to the senses, nor should he follow others like sheep. Be a ship, not a sheep. Not sheep. A ship serves to carry others and across the ocean. It's a very long discourse, but I thought Swami nicely has explained what is Shreya Marga and what's the Preyo Marga, which is the worldly path, worldly experiences and pleasures. But the bhakti, that's why Swami said, Uttarasmad, Uttarasmad. There are many kinds of devotions, which this sutra just after Gauni, that means endowed with gunas. We also saw a few sutras earlier that guna rahitam, that real bhakti is without gunas. But then there are gunas which come and then uttarasmat, various kinds. But Swami says purva, the original intention of bhakti itself, shreyas, not worldly benefits, worldly benefits. So that's what this sutra says, and Swami has nicely explained to us. Because we all think we are devotees of Swami, and we should understand what is the real devotion to Swami and what is the real purpose of that devotion. So I thought we should read the full discourse. So I had presented it here. I hope it was useful. We will go to the next sutra. Anyasmat saulabham bhaktav. Anyasmat saulabham bhaktav. Anyasmat saulabham bhaktav. In terms of pronunciation, Anyasmat does not have any aspirated consonants. The word saulabham, in that the last letter, bham, bha, is aspirated, a fourth letter in the per vargo, per class of consonants, so it has to be aspirated. Saulabham. And the next word is bhaktav. There also the first letter, bha, is aspirated. So, bha in two words is aspirated in this sutra. So, you can pay attention. There are no sandhi related changes in this sutra. So, I have not had that section. We can look at the meaning of this sutra. Anyasmat. Oh, sorry, I think I made a mistake from the others. Oh, compared to sorry. So Anyasmat, compared to the others. Okay, compared to others, Saulabh, Anya means other. Okay, compared to others. Saulabham, the word Saulabham comes from the word Sulabha. Sulabha comes from the word Labha. Labha means to attain, obtain anything. Sulabha means, I think what many of you use in other languages, Indian language. Sulabha means it's easy to obtain. Sulabha is easy to obtain. Saulabham is a derivation of the word Sulabha. That means the quality of Sulabha is Saulabha. The quality of ease of easy attainment is Saulabha. Okay. Compared to the others, so the next word we'll look at, third word, some bhakta. The simple noun is bhakti. Bhakta is the seventh noun form of the seventh vibhakti, which means in bhakti, in devotion. So, compared to the others, in bhakti, there is ease of attainment. That means with bhakti, you can attain what can we attain? The Lord. You can say it, we can attain Shreyas. Shreyaya bhavati is what the prayer is. So what Swami say, what Narada is saying is that through bhakti, Shreyas can be easily attained compared to others. Compared to any other path, any other form of sadhana, bhakti will grant you Shreyas very easily. So that's what Anyasman Saulabham Bhaktav. Okay, so I have a small excerpt of Swami's discourse. Yes, sister.
Brother Sairam, compared to others mean other markers?
Yes, anything else. Anya means anything else.
Like karma or everything. Okay. Not others, people or things. That's what I was thinking about.
So anything else, that's all it Swami says. So basically what it means, you see, karma marga without bhakti is no marga. Jnana marga without bhakti is no jnana marga. So I think I did not use the words jnana and karma because Swami would say karma and jnana should have a bhakti as an ingredient in those parts also. But here it says anything else in this world. Whether you have it or not doesn't matter. Bhakti will give you easy. Okay, so that means anything devoid of bhakti cannot give you, that's the way to understand. Because a person who is in the karma marga also can have bhakti and it will give him.
Yeah.
Okay, so what Swami says, anything other than bhakti cannot give you.
Okay, anything other than. Okay,
I think that's a better way to, okay.
Thank you. Thanks.
So the thing is, there are 100 things you can do, but Swami says bhakti is essential for you to get it quickly. Okay, so just to, because we're on the topic, there are people who will do this kriya, do this pranayama, do this asanas, yoga, this, and people are pursuing many of these things, but they don't have this intimate connection with God, which bhakti grants. Okay, so that will not give them easily this experience. So many people, they do self-inquiry. You inquire, who are you? In Swami's discourse, what is Swami is saying? You should know who you are. So there are many people who say you should do self-inquiry. I don't go to pray. I don't go to temple. I don't pray to anyone. It is very, very difficult. We already looked at this same concept in the Bhakti Yoga when we looked at the chapter 12 of Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna is asking, Krishna, some people are devoted to you, some people are worshipping that Nirguna, Nirakara, who is better? That's a question he's asking. So in that, Krishna says, it is very difficult to attain the Lord through that path. So that's why you need Saguna Sakara. You can pray. It's easy for you to connect. So other parts are beset with more difficulties. So it's the same concept which is also mentioned here. So I will.
Other parts are without devotion. So there are people doing it, other services. When they don't realize the Lord, they can.
Exactly.
Okay. Thank you.
So, That is very, very important. Many people say, oh, that person, there are so much social services happening, let us do this. But Swami says, if there is no devotion, you're not going to attain it. Okay, so that is also, so bhakti as an ingredient in anything you do will grant you this quickly. Okay, that's the thing. So we'll read
Thank you.
Swami's. Love is not your individual property. It is universal and belongs to all. Love is in everyone. Love is there in you, me, and everyone. We attribute various names to this love and try to experience it. You should not think otherwise. Today, even school children develop a tendency for artificial love. But this is not correct. This artificial love makes man weak. This weakness can cause many diseases. Do not develop such love which gives rise to diseases. The principle of love is a principle of divinity, nothing else. Accept that love which comes from God. Do not accept that love which comes from others. Your love for God is true love. Whomsoever you love other than that, it cannot be called true love. Man develops attachment to many people, but is unable to experience true love. True love originates only from God. God is the embodiment of love. Love is God. Live in love. You should experience only divine love, not worldly love. I will explain to you this principle of love in detail later. We have already exceeded the time limit, therefore I don't want to cause inconvenience to you. It is very easy to attain God. If you ask which is the easiest thing to attain in this world, it is only God. You can attain God in no time without undergoing any strain. It is very easy to experience love. Love is very powerful. There's nothing in this world which can surpass it. When you look at it, love appears to be very small, but it is as deep as ocean and as high as a mountain. It is inexhaustible and infinite. You should realize this principle of love. Nobody can describe the principle of love because of the limitations of the circumstances and experience. Okay, so Swami is telling, with love, we can easily attain the Lord because it's very powerful, even though people may not realize it. So Swami gave us a lot of attention and importance to love because it grants you easily. And because we read this story of Gopikas in the last session, whereas Uddhava had all this knowledge, Krishna is divine, this and that. But Gopikas, they were not interested. They were always centered on God. So they, in that experience, Uddhava realized that they were much ahead of him, even though he had all the philosophy that the Gopikas had already achieved, what he was striving to achieve because of devotion, love for Krishna. So that also explains in the contrast how bhakti, when one is very deeply merged in it, when it's filled with it, one can easily attain the Lord. I will look at another sutra. Pramanantarasyanapekshvatvat swayam pramanatvat. Pramanantarasyanapekshvatvat swayam pramanatvat. Pramanantarasyanapekshvatvat swayam pramanatvat. Now the first word is very, very long. In terms of pronunciation, there are no aspirated consonants in this sutra. The only one which I would point to pay attention is anapekshatva, ksha, that is cerebral ksha. So the tongue, if we pay attention to the tongue and point it upwards, it will be pramanantarasyanapekshvatvat swayam pramanatvat. Okay, so let's look at Sandhi split. The first word is made up of three different words. So we'll look at them. Pramana antarasya becomes pramanantarasya. The na and a becomes na. The na becomes longer. Pramanantarasya. The ya and a also becomes ya. Same concept. Ya plus a plus becomes ya. It becomes longer. Those are the only one. But anapekshatvat is one word. Actually, it's a samasa, but I just split it, easy to understand. Swayam is one word. Pramanatvat is separate word. No other related changes. We look at the meaning. Pramana. Pramana means a measure or a proof. Pramana is a measure or a proof. Antarasya. Here the word antarasya means of outside or other. Okay. Antara has multiple meanings. Antara is something between two things, outside one, and things like that. So in this case, any outside proof. Pramanantarasya, outside proof. Okay. Anapekshatvat. Apeksha, apeksha means, liking or something, regard for something. Anapeksha means without any regard. So, anapekshatvat, due to, I think I should put from disregard or due to disregard. I will put due to. Because that's also again fifth vibhakti. So, due to disregard of any outside proof. Okay, due to disregard for any outside proof. Swayam pramanatvat. Okay, again same thing, it's or due to, from. Swayam. Swayam means one's own experience, one's own. Okay, Swayam means one's own. Pramanatvat means from the measure of proof. So which are basically Swayam pramanatvat means from one's own measure or proof. So this sutra is giving two things. One is disregard for others' experience, so others' proof. One's own proof. Okay, so the bhakti is attained through one's own experience and through disregard for others' experience. So that's what the sutra means. I will read the excerpt of Swami, I think, which will explain it a little better. And then we can discuss. Winning such perfect security requires the path of full devotion, dedicating oneself to the Lord. It cannot be obtained by other means. Again, Anya, we also looked at earlier also. Okay. The path of spiritual wisdom, jnana, is possible only for 1 in a million. It is beyond the reach of all. Is it possible to negate the body and the objective world, so patent to the senses, by repeating not this, neti, neti? Unless this is possible, how can the not this argument be applied? Under present conditions, the path of wisdom is indeed very difficult. The path of selfless activity is also not quite feasible. It is also full of difficulties. To work in the proper spirit, love and devotion are essential for success. The path of yoga or communion also bristles with obstacles. Thus, the path of devotion is the smoothest, the most conducive to success, and the most bliss-yielding. Even this path of devotion cannot be defined and demarcated as such and such. Since it has many forms, roads, and types of experience, it is impossible for anyone to describe it accurately and fully. Each devotee gets bliss only through their individual experience. Through the experience of the others, at best, they can get only encouragement and guidance. The experience changes from one person to another. So it eludes comparison and even description. If anyone describes it by examples and limits, be sure that their experience is not real. The limited soul is immersed in the limitless love of the Lord. And how can words describe that experience called by the Upanishads as the unbroken uniflow of sweetness? One cannot express that state of unbounded devotion in human language. By outward signs that can be cognized by the senses, one can feel that the devotee is in a high state of bliss. But who can gauge the depth of the joy? It has no relation with the senses at all. Devotion has to be realized in your own experience. Though great souls can illumine the path a little for you by their examples. With their help, you can grasp something of the path, but always remember that words fail when they approach the beyond. They are useful only for the purposes of the objective world. They are instruments of no value in regions of experience where comparisons are impossible. Still, consider a few illustrations. Maitreyi, one of the foremost devotees among women, compared the mind of a devotee to a still lake. That is to say, all agitations is stopped. The mind becomes inactive, ineffective, so to say, worn out into nothing. Kapila Maharshi, speaking from the same devotion, compares it to a flowing stream. Streams and rivers like the Ganga and the Godavari flow uninterruptedly, without rest or any other thought, toward the sea. So too, from the very moment of birth, the devotee yearns to reach the sea of the grace of the Lord. Devotion is that unbroken relationship. Whatever the task on hand, whatever the road is trod, the mind dwells on the goal alone, the goal of attaining the Lord. Again, in the Devi Bhagavatam, it is said that devotion is like the flow of oil from one vessel to another. This is more or less like the image of a river. Shankara characterized devotion differently in Shivananda Lahari, like the piece of iron that is drawn towards the magnet. The individual soul, Jivi, is drawn toward and attaches itself firmly to the Lord. All modifications of the mind get merged in the feet of the Lord. Also, Ramanuja explained that devotion as well as meditation done through love are essentially the same. Though each interprets it differently, all interpretations are correct, for they are based on actual experience which cannot be negated. These statements do not exhaust the types. There are many more, for devotion has 1,000 forms. It flows along 1,000 streams to reach the ocean of the Lord's grace. The goal of all the forms is the merger of the individual soul with Brahman and absorption in total bliss. This is from Prashanti Vahini, chapter 9, which talks about devotion. So I will stop here. So as you can see, Swami has, this sutra basically says the experience of others has very limited value. One should have even disregard for that experience, but work on gaining one's own experience. Swayam pramana. And that's a real measure, that's a real proof of that experience, is what Swami says. Because it's very, many people think, we listen to others' experiences and we are also inspired. But has it inspired us to get our own experience? Is what matters. So Narada is saying to anyone who wants to cultivate devotion, that work on your own experience and depend on it. That's a real proof. Because others' experiences, however, even if it's true, we do not know the depth of that joy. That's what Swami says in this discourse. So always we should focus on our own experience and proof, which is what will make our devotion unshakable. Because if we depend on others' experiences and others' explanations, our devotion can be shaky and we may not be able to enjoy the bliss which that devotion grants. That's what the sutra is about. I will stop here. If there are any questions on anything which we discuss, and if I know the answer, I can share. Saira.
Sairam, thank you so much. It's so beautiful. Thank you.
Saira, uncle. Thank you, Saira. Yes, Sister Aruna.
Brother, it's Swami says you rely on your own experience, and your own experience you are sharing will give them just a guidance only. But whoever coming to Swami's fold, only according to his will, kind of only it's come to an end, right?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Sairam. I think Swami goes to everyone in some form or other, but ultimately it's our own experience, I think. Okay, so if there are no other, yes, Kalyani, Saira.
Sarah, Uncle, is there some sort of balance between using our own experience as pramana, but also, like, for example, like Swami's words is definitely sort of a pramana for us as well, right? Like, you know, how there can be different interpretations of Swami's words, and
Yeah.
people might say it's because of their own experience.
Yeah, so the thing is, ultimately, Swami says, rely on yourself. You can get some guidance, some illumination, Swami says, from others, but until and unless you make it your own, it does not have any value. I think that's what I understand. Swami says others can help to some extent, illumine the path by their own example, but until we make that example ours and make it our own, we will not be benefited from that. I think that's what I understand. Because the reliance on, see, many people, Swami says, many people read some book and come to me. And then they will read something else and then they will leave. Were they my devotees? No. They were devotees of what they read. There are people who listen to somebody say something and become devotees. Then they listen to something else somebody else says, and then they leave. That means they were their devotees and not my devotees. They were devotees of the people because they believe in what the other person says. And then somebody else says something, then they will leave. That means they were devotees of what they heard. They were not devotees of me. So I think that's what it is. Ultimately, until we make that experience our own, not imagining, but it should become a real experience of our own. And I think that's why Swami says, practice what I say and see whether you benefit. And that should give you the conviction of divinity. That itself is a very long path, but how do we practice? Sometimes we ask others also, how do you practice? I think that's okay. But ultimately, we should believe that Swami will give us the explanation, which is the real explanation, I would say. So we can listen as long as we don't get confused by what we hear from others. I think that's all matters. If we are very sincere in our study of what Swami teaches, Swami will reveal what we need to know. That conviction is, I think, important, is what I would say. So even others' explanations has only very limited value if we not benefited from it. That's what I hope I didn't.
Yes, thank you.
Sai. Yes, Auntie Saku, please go.
I don't know.
Yes, sir.
I listened to your Samarpana talk where you are saying if you are Sai devotee, you have to read all the Vahinis, understand what his messages are, and listen to all discourses if you have any doubts. So in that way only you can become a true devotee of Swami. You say, I really believe it, and I think if we want to make our own bhakti experience of our own, that means that we have to get his blessing. How we can get his blessing? By following his path, following his words, following his whatever he has given us. He has given everything for us to look into and follow it. That's the only way. No questioning, just submit yourself and listen to his speeches. Listen to his whatever he has been teaching us all throughout his life. Thank you. Because your speech was very crystal clear. If you want to say you are a Sai devotee, you become a Sai devotee by following all what he has taught, read the Vaginis, listen to the speeches, and carry on your life accordingly. And you gave so many incidents to help us. Thank you. This is I'm saying thank you.
So just Sai Ramati, just as Swami has told, you should not depend too much on it.
Oh, no.
Okay. But I think
You
just
were not saying anything.
okay.
You were saying even your worst experiences to bring out the truth out of it.
Okay, Sai Ramati. Thank you. I hope. So ultimately, we should understand all our doubts only can be cleared by Swami, or our understanding can only be improved by Swami. So with those words, we will close the session today. Just developing love for the Lord will solve all problems. Swami says, it's a nice experience of a student. One student started developing doubts, So one day he told Swami, Swami, I have a problem. Swami asked, what's the problem? He said, I'm getting doubts about you, about your divinity. Then Swami asked him, oh, I see. Oh, it's okay. Then Swami asked, do you love me? He said, yes. Swami said, that's enough.
Yeah.
Okay, just love. Okay, the doubts will dissolve because the doubts is of the mind. So I think the developing love, that's all what Narada is saying. Narada is a great devotee himself. So what he's saying is, develop your own experience, have love for the Lord, and that will solve the problem. Anything else, even inquiry, understanding, analysis, all can also slip and fall one day. And so I think again and again repeating and reading and studying, because we can never exhaust what Swami has studied, exhaustively study what Swami has taught, but we can engage in constant study every day, study something, recollect, and I think that will enhance our connection to Swami as God, not the form of Swami. That divinity which Swami represented, we will connect, and hopefully that will help and guide all of us. Sai Ram.
Thank you.
Sai Ram. We will close the session with prayers, and we'll meet next week. Sai Ram. Om Samastaloka Sukhino Bhavantu. Samastaloka Sukhino Bhavantu. Samastaloka Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sai Ram.